Okay, hi everyone. I think we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to the admitted students and parents to our BME open house. We are excited to have you here to talk about our program and our community. We'll talk about what BME is, what kinds of careers graduates pursue, what classes you can expect to take. I know that's a big one. And most importantly, though, we'll talk about our culture as well, what it's like to be a BME student in our community. This brief overview will then be followed by a panel of current BME undergraduate students, and there will definitely be time at the end to ask your questions. You can ask them to the student panelists, and you can ask them to myself. Okay, but first let's start with that overview, and I'm going to share my screen, so just one moment. All right, can everyone see just the PowerPoint presentation? Okay, awesome. All right, let's start by talking about the department. So the first thing you should know about BME is that it's actually a joint department. It's a joint department between the School of Engineering and Applied Science and the School of Medicine. And in fact, most of BME physically resides within the School of Medicine, though it's a pretty short walk to the other engineering buildings. But this is really important, this location. This allows BME students plenty of opportunity to interact and engage with our UVA clinicians. And that's really crucial to what biomedical engineers do. And so what is that? What do we do? What is biomedical engineering? Let's start by looking at the engineering part of that title. So what is engineering? And we can start by talking about what it's not. So it's not just mathematics. A lot of people think you have to be a math superstar to be an engineer, but that's not true. Math is just one of thousands of tools that you'll need in engineering. Math is not just innovation, although it certainly includes innovation. It's not just science, but in biomedical engineering especially, there's a lot of science. It's not just entrepreneurship, and it's not just technology. The main thing that engineers do is solve problems. All right, we love to tackle a problem that hasn't been solved yet. And again, there's a lot of different tools and disciplines that go into tackling problems. What about biomedical engineering itself? So biomedical engineering is a pretty broad field. It lives at the intersection of engineering and design principles and biology and medicine. So biomedical engineers take those engineering and design principles and they apply them to problems in biology and medicine. And they do this primarily to better human health, right? Just to make people's lives better. And that's a big reason why people go into biomedical engineering. All right, and this can encompass a lot of different areas, like I said. It could be in the area of neuroengineering, like we see here. This is a brain-computer interface. So this is a brain-computer interface that's helping a person with a disability gain some kind of movement or the ability to speak. Brain-computer interfaces can be used for a lot of different things. So neuroengineering is one big concentration in biomedical engineering. We also have artificial and bioartificial organ and tissue replacements. So for example, this is an artificial heart. We have genetic engineering. That's another big focus in biomedical engineering. We also have biomedical devices. We have imaging. So for example, big MRI and CT scan machines. And then finally, there's a lot of data science and systems engineering that happens in BME. And biomedical engineering graduates are really valued for their ability to operate effectively across these different disciplines and see the bigger picture that connects engineering and medicine. We can really see that when we look at our graduate student placement. So about half of our graduates go on to get jobs in industry or in consulting. So where do the other half go? The other half go on within their education. So about a quarter go on to some kind of graduate school, so a master's or a PhD program, and another quarter go on to medical school. Right? And about 80 to 90% of our graduates have secured their post-graduation positions well before they graduate. And again, because our graduates are so highly valued for being able to operate across disciplines. So this slide is just showing some of the companies that our students go on to work for, our graduates. This is not a comprehensive list, right? It's just a representation of the different kinds of companies that our graduates go on to work for. Okay, now I know a lot of you want to know right now what kinds of classes you'll take. So let's go ahead and get into that. So we'll talk about the big five. These are the big five components of a BME curriculum here at UVA: science and math, communications and humanities, engineering, biology, and design. So science and math, a lot of that happens in your first year and a little bit into your second. The math includes things like calculus, differential equations, and statistics. Again, you don't have to be a math superstar. A lot of us aren't that go into engineering, and we learn it along the way. And fortunately, UVA has a really strong math support system for students, right? Because a lot of us need that help in order to get started with the math and engineering. And that help is certainly there, and lots of students take advantage of it. So communications and humanities, you might not think of these immediately when you think of engineering, but it's actually really important. If you think about all the things around you that have a huge impact on your life, like mobile phones, cars, air conditioning, electrical systems, the internet, right? Engineers did all that, right? So what we do has a huge effect on society. And we as engineers have a responsibility to ensure that we are considering the impact of our designs and our solutions on society. And so humanities courses, the ability for us to be able to put our engineering designs into context of society is really important. And our ability to communicate what we're doing and why we're doing it as engineers to society is also really important in that two-way conversation. So communities and humanities, or communications and humanities, are a really important part of a BME curriculum. Engineering. So engineering, of course, happens in biomedical engineering, but it tends to happen with a biomedical perspective, most of your engineering classes. So how do you use engineering to solve biomedical problems? Biology. So biology is really important. It's a really important part of the UVA BME curriculum. And that's because biology is so critical. We have to be able to understand the human body and the cells within the human body in order to be able to tackle problems with them, right? So we have a big focus on human physiology and cellular and molecular biology, pathology. And we also learn hands-on how to apply this knowledge to solve biomedical problems. There's a 2-semester laboratory called Ideas Lab. And you can see some pictures here from Ideas Lab. So a lot of students having fun, doing hands-on work with cells and different kinds of biomedical systems in order to solve problems. And they do this with our wonderful instructor, Dr. Timothy Allen here. Right, so you'll get to also play in a lab while you're here at UVA BME. Besides biology, design is also a really important component in our curriculum. This is where you do the fun stuff of applying what you've learned all along to solve problems in the biomedical space. So you'll learn important skills like computation, coding and software skills, instrumentation, etc. And you use all of that to come up with really cool solutions to problems. You'll do this throughout the curriculum, but it all really culminates in your 4th year. In the 4th year, you have what's called the capstone. This is where students work independently in teams to design solutions to problems. And they do this in collaboration. They collaborate with BME faculty, biomedical companies, and UVA clinicians. And they come up with really cool solutions to problems. And they present them at what's called the BME Capstone Symposium. So that happens at the end of the 4th year. the whole BME community and advisors come together to really celebrate these student teams and what they've been able to accomplish. And you can see some figures here. So these are some past capstone teams showing off their designs. All right, so that's the BME curriculum. And again, don't forget at the end, there will be a chance to ask questions. All right, so most of what I just told you is only a small part of what's important. All right, just as important as this is our culture. What's life like as a BME student? What are your fellow students like? And what kinds of opportunities exist for students outside the classroom? Okay, so let's talk a little bit about that. So first of all, we're a culture of inclusion. We're a very close-knit and collegial bunch, and we're all very supportive of each other. Faculty know most of the students know the faculty, and additionally, students get to know our graduate students, and graduate students are phenomenal mentors themselves, right? So our undergraduate students get lots of opportunities for wonderful mentorship. The student body itself is 50% female, and we are making really great gains in our percentage of students who are underrepresented in STEM. Right now, that percentage is 12%, and it's going up. And we're working really hard to get that number up. Our culture is also one of involvement. A really good example of that is research. So a large majority of our undergraduate students spend some time working in a BME research or design lab, which gives them great hands-on experiential learning, which employers and grad schools and medical schools love. Many BME students also enjoy giving back to their community, right? So they do this by participating in student organizations, which UVA is famous for. They also volunteer in the community, etc. And finally, our undergrad students like to help each other learn. And they do this by serving as teaching assistants in courses. They also do this by teaching their own courses. So at UVA, we have what's called student taught courses, and lots of BME students love to teach their own student taught courses. And that's a wonderful opportunity to interact with first year and second year students. And finally, we also have a big tutoring network, and many BME undergraduate students participate in that tutoring network. All right, in fact, about 80% of our students have a significant out of classroom experience before their fourth year even begins. So it happens all along the way. These aren't just opportunities for fourth year students, they're for first all the way through fourth. And finally, we have a culture of excellence. And that's probably because we are such a supportive program and provides lots of opportunities for engagement, learning, and service. And that just leads to excellence. So a BME student has won the School of Engineering's Most Outstanding Student Award for 14 years. So our BME students represent. Many of our students graduate with publications in peer-reviewed scientific journals, and many of our students graduate with patents. And we also have an outstanding job placement rate. I mentioned that before, about 80 to 90% of our students have secured their post-graduation position 3 weeks before they even graduate. All right, so that is our program in a small nutshell. I'm now going to turn things over to our panel of current undergraduate students. Let me stop sharing. So our panel of current undergraduate students. So we'll start by having them introduce themselves and say a few words about their time as BME students thus far. And at that point, we'll open it up to questions. So you can ask those questions to the panelists, or you can ask them to myself. You can do it by unmuting yourself and asking the question, or you can put the question in chat. This is a really great opportunity to ask these students about what's life like as a BME student, what are the good courses, what are the good instructors, what are the good student organizations, et cetera, et cetera. But first, let's have them introduce themselves. All right, let's start with Aubrey Winger.
Okay. Hi, my name is Aubrey. I'm a third year BME student, and I'm also doing a double minor in computer science and anthropology. I would say my favorite part about the BME program is, as Professor Barker said, just like the opportunities to get involved inside and outside of the classroom. Our faculty just really wants to help us learn and develop as engineers. So they're more than happy to meet with us outside of class or support us through office hours or help us get involved in independent research projects if we're interested in that.
Thanks, Aubrey. Nikita?
All right. Hey guys. So I'm also a third year BME student along with Aubrey and John. I'm also doing a double minor. My minors are in computer science and engineering business. And, I would really agree with Aubrey. I think that the BME department at UVA is really unique because you really form a connection with all of your professors. I've felt like all my professors have really cared about my development and have been really invested in me growing as an engineer. And along those lines, one of the things I've really enjoyed the most my time here is being involved in undergraduate research. So I've been working on computational modeling of different cell systems and looking at applications with that. So that's been a really primary passion for me. And I'm just really grateful that I've been able to meet so many people here that have helped me grow my passions in computational biology at UVA.
Thanks, Nikita. John?
Hi, everybody. My name is John. I'm also a third year with Nikita and Aubrey. I'm from New York. And I guess my favorite part about BME here is, like they both said, like the connections with professors is like unreal. Like I didn't come into UVA knowing that that'd be a thing, but like I'm in research as well, and I got involved in that first year just by sending an email like to one of my professors, and gladly he just said, hey, like let's meet for coffee tomorrow, and like we did it, and now I'm like working in his lab. It's like really amazing, I think, how willing they are to like want to get to know you. And also I guess another thing I like about BME is like the teaching aspect for students. Like a lot of my fellow students and myself are TAs, and that's been like one of the highlights of my like BME experience, I think, as well as like Dr. Barker mentioned, the student talk classes. Like that's a great opportunity. I don't think a lot of other schools actually do that. And again, like you normally have a faculty advisor. And again, I think that just goes to show how much the professors here really care about your development as a student, but also as a, as you go on past UVA, like what you're going to do down the road. And I think that's really special and unique to UVA.
Thank you. All right, so this is the time to ask questions. So whoever has a question, please feel free to put it in the chat and I can read it out to the panelists, or you can unmute yourself. What questions do you have for me or for these students?
I have a question. So have any of you, or do you know of anyone that has gotten any opportunities at the UVA hospital or any other type of opportunity near the UVA campus that helps them, advance their career and their resume?
I'm going to let the students take that one.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I can start out just by saying I'm actually a part of a really great organization on grounds called Madison House, which is the largest volunteer organization on grounds. So I've had the opportunity before COVID for my first 2 years of undergrad to volunteer at the ICU in UVA Hospital. So that was a really awesome experience for me. And a lot of students also do that if they're interested in med school because it counts for volunteer hours for shadowing. As far as like paid opportunities, I know a couple BME students do the medical scribe program at UVA, which is you follow doctors or residents around on their rounds and you basically transcribe what they're saying. And I don't know if one of the other panelists want to speak more to opportunities outside of the hospital, but. Yeah.
Yeah, I can talk a little bit more about that. Like, I also did Madison House. Like, obviously, it's like one of the biggest like student organizations at UVA, which is really cool. Just to echo also the Scribe program, like I actually know a lot of BMEs who have gone to do that. And I know it's a great opportunity. You get to, like Aubrey said, like shadow doctors and go into the hospital rooms with them, which is like very unique experience, very rewarding. I heard you really build relationships with those physicians. Um, yeah, I would definitely recommend that. Another thing, especially with like the time we're in, like COVID, there's a lot of volunteering opportunities with that. I know virtual and in person. Like right now, I'm doing. There's a lot of like communities in Charlottesville. A lot of underrepresented communities that lack affordable like COVID testing, and I've been like volunteering with those communities. Been a good opportunity. I think if really you just look, there's always something to do, especially with like clinical stuff.
Yeah, just to add on to that, another program that the BME department offers is a clinical scholars program. So that is, I believe, an internship that you can apply for where you work over your summer with actual clinicians and get to experience what it's like to be a biomedical engineer. And one of my closest friends in the BME program was involved with that. So I think that's also a unique opportunity in the BME program.